So welcome to the first quarterfinals of TwoPools 2, Tempo Storm, Hera and Leary versus Heresy, Miguel and Dogao coming in here. We'll have a Coast to Mountain and Kawasan as the home maps for Hera and Leary. Interestingly, no Cape of Storms. They allow Heresy to take that. And it's also an interesting thing from Heresy to pick that map because Hera and Leary are so strong on Cape of Storms. On the other hand, Cape of Storms is a map where Heresy is also great at, so it is very possible that we will see a very competitive Cape of Storms game. And we will have Team Islands as well on the side of Heresy AoE. Miguel and Dogao had some very nice sets. They were actually second place in their group, but they barely lost to MBL and Nikov, so they were close to winning their group. Now they will be up against Hera and Leary. Lithuanians, Britons will be the global bands, and Mayans, Vikings, Japanese, Chinese, Mongols is a strong pool 1 for Tempo, facing off against the pool 1 of Heresy featuring Persians, Italians, Franks, Malians, Berbers. Sicilians, Goths, Burmese, Turks, and Burgundians will line up the second pool of Tempo, and Teutons, Cumans, Bulgarians, Spanish, Indians for Heresy. Just by taking a quick look at those civilizations, I think I prefer the draft of Tempo a little bit better, but it depends on what Heresy brings in for this set, because I think if Heresy wants to win, they need to win with some surprising strategies, with some well-prepared strats, and that's something that Heresy is so good at. So in Empire Wars Duo, they were one of the most innovative teams last summer, so I'm curious what Heresy brings in here. This is going to be one of the toughest challenges for them, if we take a look at the overall brackets, because as you see, if they win here, I think either Gamer Legion B or Aftermath is going to be easier for them than Tempo Storm, so they're actually getting a very strong opponent here. If they want to use their best strategies available, this might be the time, because the next time they will meet this strong opponent might be just in the finals if they get there. But before we get into the first set, let's take a quick look at the teams themselves.
Russian and Ukrainian Sal's team. Playing for Tempo Storm, Hera and Leary might currently be the strongest duo in the world. They're the only team with 2 players in the top 4 that dominated the competitive scene over the past 12 months. Leary and Hera are young, they're fast, they're good friends, and since last year's Battle of Africa 2, they train as hard as anyone else. Hera and Leary excel at playing the meta. They choose maps favouring their strengths and opt for proven civilization picks, relying on their superior macro, micro, and team coordination to crush the opposition. While they may lack the ability to deviate from the meta, they are incredibly hard to beat when dictating the pace of the game. Tempo Storm as a team did not participate in the first 2 pools, but Hera played as a third for Aftermath. With MBL and Nikov, he ended up winning the whole tournament. Leary and Hera have also improved a lot, both individually and as a team, over the past year. They are competitive and they want to win. Nothing else than a victory will satisfy them.
After the introduction of Tempo Storm here, we will also take a look at our other team, which is the Brazilian duo Miguel and Dogao, this time without their third player, Lan. Lan signed up with Heart, but they lost their sets in the group stage, which means that they are out of the tournament. It's only Miguel and Dogao, potentially the strongest Brazilian duo, but they will still face an uphill battle over here. It is not impossible that we will see an upset from them. However, they will need to play 120% to make sure that that happens, because they are definitely the underdogs of this set. But let's take a look at Miguel and Dogao first.
Playing for Team Heresy, Dogao and Miguel are good friends who have been teammates for years. They're also a highly successful duo, with their crowning achievement of winning Nations Cup 2017 for Brazil. TwoPools won semi-finalists as well. They returned to the tournament with hopes of going even further. Heresy is one of the teams where the segregation of duties is crystal clear. Dogao plays archers and Miguel plays cavalry. Keep an eye out for Dogao's Drush FC or Mongol's power play. Miguel, he excels at developing a thriving economy while using his knights to provide a cover for Dagao's armies. Having played together for years, they understand each other perfectly and communicate efficiently. While on paper Dagao and Miguel may not seem one of the favourite teams, their vast experience, impressive skill sets, and seriousness in preparation make them a mighty duo. They were closely beaten by the Viper and Tato in the first two pools, and will aim for a better result this year.
So here we go, Tempo Storm versus Heresy. If Tempo wasn't as brutally strong as they are currently nowadays, this could be a super even set, but right now, if I had to make a prediction, I would say I'm favoring Tempo 3-1. They had an insanely strong showing versus Suomi. Like, it might have been one of the most convincing gameplay I've ever seen in competitive Age of Empires, without exaggeration. Leary's archer control was absolutely amazing, and Hera's cavalry control was also top-notch, so Miguel and Dogao have to play crystal clean in order to have a shot at this, but as I said, they are innovative, they can bring in some strategies, they're well prepared, so if they play their best, they will have a shot against Tempo here, and after all of that, let's take a look at game number 1. So, we will have blue and green colors for Hera and Leary. This is something that they love to have. In this tournament, you have to have one team with blue and green and the other with red and yellow, so it's like easy to distinguish, even for potentially colorblind people. But this is actually, you know, probably the colors that Hera and Leary themselves would have selected. Hera loves to play blue, and Leary's favorite color in the game is green, so they're just playing with their natural colors. Down south will be Miguel playing Franks in red, and his teammate Indians for Dagao in yellow, so immediately at start we are going to see an interesting civ combination over here. Indians being used as an archer civ is definitely possible. The tricky thing is to decide when you switch to cav archers, because that's the main question. Having the cav archers can help you with mobility, but if you switch too early, you won't have the numbers and you just get overrun by crossbows. If you switch too late, you will get beaten by arbs and you will have a bunch of crossbows you can't upgrade. Other side, Burmese for Hera in blue and the Chinese for Leary in green. This once again is a civ matchup that could make us think very heavily, because Chinese can be both your cavalry and your archer civ here, because Burmese is not really good in either of those. So Burmese, kind of the same thing as Indians. They technically have cav archers, but they're even missing thumb ring. So at the first glance, I would say that your Burmese player will be your cavalry civ. Burmese cavalier are fully upgraded, but obviously they will be no match to the Frankish paladins, and that would mean Chinese will be your archer civ. So I would say that the Chinese player is going to be the archer player and the Burmese player will be the cavalry civ. What is going to be more interesting is that, as I said, I think the Franks are way better as a cavalry civ compared to Burmese, like light years ahead. But on the other hand, Chinese are also light years ahead of Indians in terms of being an archer civ. So in a meta where archers are so important, I would actually favor tempo civs here a little bit. But it depends on how well Miguel and Dogao will be able to use their mobility once Dogao is able to switch into cav archers. Now, a side note worth adding is that Dogao loves to play Drush FC on this map, but I feel like it might be too greedy for him to do that in this scenario, because the thing is that Hera and Leary are super aggressive players, and it is very risky to leave your teammate exposed to two tempo players while you're going for a Drush FC, so we might see a more conservative game plan from Dogao. I don't think that Drushing here would do that much for Dogao, because both of the tempo players are very good with quick walls. I don't think that the Drush would actually accomplish much. I would think more of a straight archers or man-at-arms archers build here for Dogao. I think straight archers might be the safest, but who am I to tell? That's a premium Drush coming in here for him. He did push in some of his zebras, as we do have a fairly passive Dark Age in terms of laming and just overall gameplay, so everybody is just scouting his own base and pushing in there. Leary venturing forward towards the base of Miguel here. What's going to be interesting is that we have the left side, Archer Civ versus Cavalry Civ, and the same thing on the right side. So in these setups, oftentimes it turns into two separate 1v1s, and if it turns into two separate 1v1s, that helps Leary and Hera, because individually they're both better than their respective counterparts on the other side. So here come the militias. We will see if Hera spots that barracks, because it seems unlikely. Indeed, Hera doesn't know about that, and that is going to be an important piece of information missing for him, because his berries are definitely drushable. Hera, on the other hand, going for a super fast feudal. This is what Hera has on his mind. Look at that. That is a 19 pop feudal. That is blazing fast. He did push in all of his deer, so it makes sense. And remember that with Burmese, you don't have to get the lumber camp upgrade. So you can get up a little bit earlier. You don't have to collect that much food. But look at this. He still has 200 food on his rhino. He still has 4 sheep. And he's going for a 19 pop feudal. And you can tell the tempo is going to go all in. Well, not completely all in, but they will not mess around with Heresy here. They want to win, and they will use their best strategies available, or at least some of their best strategies, because this fast feudal with the Burmese could be big, but so is the barracks being denied, and oh boy, now Hera's in trouble, because if that barracks goes denied, this fast feudal age will not work at all for Hera, and the villager doesn't go down. But I did mention that I don't think that Drush will do much. I was definitely wrong on that, because delaying the barracks already is huge. If the militias doesn't hit this, then Hera would have had a super fast feudal for scouts. Now he's up to feudal, and that means that he gets double bit X a little earlier, but this is extremely crucial right now for Dogao, because Hera's fast feudal is pretty much gone here. You can see that by the time he gets the stable up, it's gonna be like 21 villagers, so basically the scouts timing will be an equivalent of like a 21-22 pop scouts build. And that is exactly what Dogao wanted to achieve here. You see that by the time the stable was up, if there is even a stable, indeed, here it comes, it's going to be very, very late compared to what originally it was. So Dogao's Drush came in clutch here, and it seems like Hera wasn't expecting that. Meanwhile, it very much seems like Dogao will try a Drush FC. In this case, he's going to be using Indians for that. One of the reasons why Indians can work nicely is because you have cheaper villagers, so you can conserve some of your food. You don't have to spend that much food on vills, and that helps having a clean Drush FC, although his food count is still rather low. So this might just end up being a late Drush Archers, because it's 26 vills. That is a very, very tight Drush FC, especially with 2 dealers not being pushed in. So I'm tempted to believe that this could end up being a late Drush Archers from him. Now Hera is out with scouts, but guess what? The militias will be very, very happy to take this fight over here and just lower the HP of those scouts. Hera's scout control has always been one of the best, so it's going to be hard for Dogao to take good fights, but he's just trying to delay these walls as much as possible and allow his teammate Miguel to bring in some reinforcements here. Leary is going for a spear archer approach here, walling his base up. By the way, Miguel is doing for crazy big walls. Like, the size of those walls is definitely something I dislike, because it's going to be awfully hard to protect them. The good news, I would say, for Miguel is that Leary is sending archers and spears forward, but if he's walled, then those archers and spears won't be able to get through. So it looks like the fight will now be taken by Hera. He wants to finish those walls before the opponent's scouts arrive. It's only 2 scouts from a red player, so it's not the end of the world for Hera, but obviously those are Frankish scouts that help a little bit. Militias now taking this fight, and Dogao is going to lose his scout. This wasn't really a great engagement for the Brazilians, as Miguel will try to isolate the villager and pick it off. Nice moves from Hera to block the scouts, but Hera could lose a will, and indeed he does. Nice start from the Brazilians here, definitely the type of start that they were looking for. Hera will actually be, or Leary will be spotted here by the stable, and that means that Miguel needs to rush up his walls really fast here. These are some insanely greedy walls, I would say, super far away from their base, which means that if they get attacked, there is no hope for Miguel to bring a repair villager there in time. I don't really like those walls for Miguel. It's hard to wall his base, I'm gonna admit, but I feel like these are overly ambitious walls. For now, his lucky moment is that Leary doesn't think that this is open here, and that means that they will just try to get through the walls here, but it looks like Dogao will get away with a Drush FC here, and he's gonna go for archers. This ended up being a 26 plus 4 Drush FC, so it wasn't like a super fast castle, but it still was pretty much a fast castle-ish timing. Here comes Hera with the scouts, and I did mention, as I said, that you gotta reinforce these walls. If you actually add houses and blacksmith behind, then he should be all good. That's the positive part of things. So, like a stone wall tile houses, he's all good, and he's gonna have scouts to help out defend against this one. One thing he has to be careful about is that tree, because he needs to add the wall behind that, but if the blacksmith goes up and the houses do as well, he should be all good. He needs to reinforce these walls as well here, though. Like, he already has to start doing that, otherwise he could be in big trouble. But so far, I think Heresy's start was actually slightly better in here. Leary also getting close to clicking up the Castle Age, Chinese Eco, working really well for him. He's only one range, so one of the reasons why he can go up this early is because he's only at one range. And that helps quite a bit. Scale barding coming in for Miguel, and this could easily become a trap here. Because there is free spearmen, but it is very possible that these scouts will just jump on those and try to take the fight after they get the upgrades. Hera getting close to clicking up to Castle Age though, and that's a big difference between the cavalry players, that Miguel right now is far away from Castle Age. He went for a lot of scouts, he goes for a lot of upgrades as well, whereas Hera just settled with the 4 scouts he has made, and after that, he is just going for a double stable early Castle Age Knights play from him. But here come the archers from Dogao that will soon be upgraded to crossbows. Botkin is not something that he can squeeze in. The stable will go up just in time, but this gate is gonna be very, very problematic for Hera. Indeed, here come the crossbows, and this is the moment where Hera could be in trouble because he's got nothing back at home to defend. And at some point, you're gonna have to take this fight if you are Miguel, and I think this is the moment where he's going to decide to take it. He should delete these walls, and indeed now he jumps on the archers. Lyric is going for a very, very fast Castle Age here as well. He didn't even go for a single archer upgrade. Obviously, losing archers here to scouts isn't really great, but still, they delayed Miguel's Castle Age really badly. Like, Miguel had to wall so much, Miguel had to make so many scouts, so I think those scouts need to do some kind of damage on Hera or Leary now. Like, maybe help these crossbows here, try to run past the TC, and hit Hera's eco. That would be something to consider, or you can just run past the TC here with the crossbows. Nice reaction from Hera to block this place with a blacksmith. So far, he's not under that much pressure, but he's still 1 minute away from Castle Age. Getting close to clicking up is Miguel as well, but he's gonna be the last player to castle. I think the best thing that they can do is maybe use those scouts to run past the TC. If they get to Hera's eco with 5 scouts before Hera gets to Castle Age, that could be great. Leary is in here with the archers. That's the alternative. You can intercept Leary's archers, and that would be great for Heresy. They have crossbows with Botkin here, and Lear doesn't even have fletching. This is an amazing engagement for Heresy here. The spearman gets picked off, and this is exactly what you wanted to achieve with your scouts. Get some kind of value for your feudal age scouts, like killing archers. That's a disaster for Leary there. He brought in the archers to help his teammate, but he's going to lose all the archers to the scouts, and now Leary is down to 4 crossbows as opposed to 14. And Hera's gonna go knights, which is probably the thing that could potentially save sort of tempo here, even though technically they don't necessarily need to be saved, because they have 2 Castle Age players versus 1, but it was definitely not ideal that Leary lost all his crossbow numbers. So now it's crossbows coming in here from Dogao, and Hera's gonna have to help out his teammate here, because I don't necessarily think that Leary can hold this, although Leary's archer micro is so good that he might just end up holding this one. Crossbows coming in here from Dogao. Dogao doesn't have ballistics yet, which means that he's gonna struggle picking off vills, or at least finishing them. The TC here will be delayed. Both tempo players actually going for a triple TC boom for now. Dogao is on 2. And Hera is just quietly massing cavalry with an intention to try and finish off these crossbows. Dogao knows that, and he's just going to leave. Still no ballistics for Dogao yet. Instead, he's prioritizing +1 defense. University just now coming in for a yellow player. Still, it's free TCs for Leary already, and Hera's gonna have free as well. And Hera's got +2 knights that are looking for these crossbows. They will miss them by a narrow margin. Once again, the main question is when you switch to cav archers, if you are Indians. Because at some point you will have to. Second TC on the way for Miguel. Ecos are dead even, but soon tempo could take over if Miguel and Dogao don't add 1 additional TC each. For now, it looks like Look at that blue ping over there. Hera pings the army movement of Dogao here to make sure that his teammate knows where to look. It's double range archers as well for Leary with free TC boom. We are gonna have free TCs as well for Miguel, a very important TC on that gold mine to point out. Dogao is instead going for a third range, so they want numbers advantage here, and that could be the first step towards a triple range Cav Archer play overall from him. He should be able to squeeze in a third town center at some point, but he's prioritizing ballistics, whereas Leary is going for a much more eco-heavy approach. So the main difference between the two archer players is that Dogao is going for a bit more of a military focus with +1 defense and ballistics, whereas Leary is going for a more eco-heavy approach. But this also implies that Heresy needs to do damage right here, right now, because look at the villager count. It's already 110 against 95. Like 2 minutes ago, it was a dead even will count. Heresy is gonna have to start doing damage right here, right now. Otherwise, they will be in massive trouble because they will just get outboomed really heavily. Scouts trying to bash their way into Hera's base here as a distraction. Hera's primary gold is pretty exposed, so it is very possible that the crossbows will be able to deny that, and that's a nice little sandwich here by Dogao. He's able to flank those crossbows and tries to pick them off, although he might just end up losing his own crossbows, and once again, this could be a good fight for Heresy. The knights are +1/+2 from Miguel, it is +0/+2 from Hera, and guess what? This is looking like a good fight once again for Heresy. Tumbling coming in fast here for Leary though, so he's gonna have an edge over Dogao's crossbows soon, and ballistics will be there as well for him. The scouts are inside Hera's eco though, and they will find the villager. That is not something that should have happened. Look, you can tell that Hera was very distracted by this fight here. Tumbling coming in as well for Dogao. But as I said, the eco for tempo is increasing very, very fast here. So they are already 25 vills ahead, and that lead is just growing and growing. So Heresy is gonna have to play aggressive, but they have every tool they need to play aggressive. It's 30 crossbows from Dogao versus 16 only, and Leary's 16 crossbows are all back at home. So right now you have numbers advantage here for Heresy at Leary's base. He's gonna have to evacuate his wood line and farms. And more importantly, look at Dogao coming in. Dogao's archer play here is just so good. He's picking off vills on Hera's wood line as well. And that's exactly what they have to do. Just keep harassing Heresy, or keep harassing Tempo here, because Tempo will just outboom them if they don't. So if you can try to camp down that gold mine with the crossbows, that would be great for Miguel and Dogao. There is a Mangonel coming in for Heresy, or a Tempo Storm here. There is a 20 villas lead right now for Tempo still, so I think that Dogao really needs a third town center, but instead he's sort of starting to go for an all-in-ish approach. Fourth range being added, still no transition to CA. And as I said, this is the problem, because soon we're getting to a stage where we will have 36 crossbows for Dogao, but what is he gonna do with those in Imperial? Because Leary can upgrade to Arbs, Dogao won't be able to. And obviously you will still get Bracer and Chemistry and Imp, but if you don't have Arbs, that doesn't matter. And I feel like at some point Leary is just going to click up to Imperial with the eco that he has and just get Arbs, and that is going to be a massive problem for Heresy here. They might try to take a decisive engagement right now. They have the archer numbers advantage by a fairly decent margin, but it is Leary micro, and that is always something to be scared of, although both players do have Tumbling and Ballistics. And the best way to make sure that Leary doesn't beat you to Imperial and overrun you with Arbs is most likely just lower his archer numbers, and that's exactly what Heresy is working for. 4th TC being added by both players on the left side. We have a 3rd TC in for Dogao as well. Still 23 vills lead for Tempo. Dogao takes the hill, that's a very nice move from him. Tries to pick off a couple of straggler crossbows over there. +2 defense in for Dogao, only +1 for Leary, so Dogao's crossbows are actually slightly better. Overall, Knight Dance in front of the armies coming in as well. The Knights are pretty much identical here, but Hera's coming in here with some more reinforcements, and Hera's Knight numbers on the field look a little bit better, as Hera's cavalry control also seems to be slightly better. Dogao focusing down the crossbows now, and the archer number advantage is still on their side, and here's the deal. It is Imperial Age for Dogao. I mean, Dogao is playing an insanely good game here. Imperial Age will be coming in for Leary as well. Imagine if Dogao was an Arbalest Sith here. They would have the advantage, because they have the archer number advantage. but this is my main problem with Indians. As there's that's a big miscoordination between Miguel and Dogao. That's a big miscoordination, because they just lost a couple of cavalry from Miguel, because Dogao sent his cavalry back, or archers back. What are you going to do with 30 crossbows? That's my problem. Because you can't do anything with those. Lear is gonna have 25 arbs, you're gonna have 35 crossbows. And I feel like probably Heresy wasn't planning for this one. What I don't understand is that I think if you have this many crossbows, you are trying to force engagements. Like, if you would be able to upgrade to arbs, you would draw back your archers and wait until you have the upgrades. But here in this case, you have to force fights. Otherwise, you will have a bunch of units that will be obsolete. And the eco is much better for tempo. So the real question to ask is it good that you have the army lead when most of your army will be obsolete soon? Cav archers will be coming in, sure, but Lear is gonna be at 32 arbs in 2 minutes. Dogao is gonna be at like 15 cav archers, or 20. That is the problem. So, the thing that could help Heresy though, is that Hera is still in Castle Age, and he's far from Imp, he's very far from Imp. And Cavalier, early Cavalier from Miguel could be a completely different scenario. As I said, I would have loved to see Dogao trying to take engagements against Leary's crossbows. It doesn't even have to be super efficient, but you have to trade crossbows here, because every crossbow you kill from Leary will mean that he will have less arbs, and every crossbow you lose is not as important as this for Leary. Hera, big counterattack coming in here towards Miguel's base. Miguel should be all good against this one. Beautiful quick walls from him for the time being. He's gonna have to second layer these houses, but he should be good to go. This is actually very close here for Miguel, and if those knights break into his base, he could be in big trouble. And this is the moment when, as I said, Dogao has to take this fight. You don't want those crossbows to be upgraded to Arb, Bracer, and Chemistry, because now what are you doing with your crossbows? But there is another factor as well, and this is what I was referring to with Indians. It's mobility. Suddenly, you have Cav Archers and Cavalier. Both of them will have greater mobility, and what you have to do is just raid Leary and Hera to death. Because Leary will struggle to catch up with his archers to the mobility of your Cav Archers. And even more importantly, we'll soon have 30 Cavalier from Miguel. The big deal right now is keeping Dogao alive, because that's a big army of Arbs, and I cannot help but wonder if it was a mistake from Dogao not to trade off those crossbows earlier, because that's a big horde of Arbs coming in, although it looks like Imp timing for our red player will be just enough, and if it's Cavalier, they will destroy the Arbs. I would love to see Dogao using those crossbows sort of to push Leary's base and force engagements. A castle coming in here for Chivalry, comes in with the Cavalier and plate boarding, and look at the pings. If Miguel jumps on those Arbs with the 30 Cavalier that he's about to have, that could be the game. Because those Arbs will just get annihilated by Cavalier, and Hera is going into Imperial, but he's still 2 minutes away from this one. No heavy CA for Dogao just yet. He's got Bracer, but no Chemistry. But still, he's doing some raiding damage, and he's steadily increasing Cav Archer numbers. And I feel like this fight here could decide the outcome of the game. Because that is gonna be 34 Cavalier. Chivalry coming in, Party and Tactics on the other side on the way, and Miguel might even be able to click Paladin at some point. I love the use of those crossbows here, because they will kill some knights, and that's definitely a great use. And now it's Cavalier, and this is the moment where you want to jump on those Arbs. Because if you are able to isolate those Arbs, and I think that Miguel will be able to see them, then you can destroy that army. And that's exactly what you're looking for. Not a great fight here for Dogao, getting sandwiched in between knights, but Leary could be in big trouble here with all those Cavaliers surrounding him. Paladin coming in for our red player, and this is gonna be a lot of Arbs dead here for Leary. Oh boy, that's a brutal massacre. That's a brutal massacre here by the Cavalier. That's Leary's entire army over there, and the crossbows are also helping quite a bit. I mean, Leary is taking an as good fight as possible to be taken here, and this is a surprisingly good fight for Leary, man. This is a surprisingly good fight. He's got fully upgraded Arbs, and those Cavalier are missing +4 attack, but still, the army of Leary will go down. Hera attacking into Elite Battle Elephant, and a big mistake from Miguel. Oh boy, this could be big. This could be very big, because Hera's gonna be able to run in with a bunch of knights. That should be no big deal to clean up with Cavalier. but here comes Hera with the elephants. And one thing that I would like to point out is that Hera and Leary played an Empire Wars duo together. And one of the things that they did was elephants a lot in 2v2. So it looks like Hera and Leary love this play. And that could still be tough to stop. Burmese elephants is always a challenge. It's going to be a very, very slow and strong army for Hera and Leary, with Burmese elephants and arbalests versus Cav Archer and Paladin. So Hera and Leary have to use their mobility so well in this case, but that's a lot of elephants, man. That's a lot of elephants, and the eco is still way better for Tempo Storm. There is now +4 defense and chemistry in for Dogao, but he doesn't have heavy Cav Archer just yet. And now the cavalry for Hera will be cleaned up here. Army number is still better for Heresy, and as I said, it's mobility, mobility, mobility. If you can just raid Hera's eco to death with Paladins, that is going to be an excellent scenario for Heresy here. Because, as I said, it's one huge blob of death here for Tempo, but the raiding ability will be on the side of Heresy, and they're doing a very, very nice job with the raids. Look at all those vills going down from Hera. Hera's gonna be down to 96 vills. Still, that's a big blob of elephants, and stopping those is going to be insanely hard. I mean, look at those beasts. Those are just insane. Still, I feel like Hera's gonna have trouble replenishing those, and now you see that we have infantry from Dogao being teched into, so they really want to do something against those elephants, and Hera just dives in on the castle. Ring Archer armor on the way for those Cav Archers. Still no heavy CA, and that castle could legit go down to the elephants. Hera's eco is now in ruins, so replenishing those elephants will be hard, but it is possible that Leary with 140 villagers, he can sling him to more elephants, because in Imperial Age now you can sling, and it is possible that Leary's slight overboom could help doing that, because Leary is having a bit of an overboom here, but that could be great for just slinging your teammate into elephants. And as things stand, it is 102 army, there is still 30 paladins on the field for Miguel. He's just waiting for the opportunity to strike, I believe. It's not great that you have to use paladin against elephants, but he's probably waiting for Blast Furnace in this one. Still Cav Archers rampaging the eco of Hera, but you see that elephants, if they close the distance, then they will destroy everything, but they need to close distance. Hera's eco is now dangerously weak, so replenishing those elephants will be tough, but Miguel's eco is also very, very weak. Apparently he's not paying attention to these vills being killed, and Miguel is also at 94 vills. So Tempo is still very much in this game, even though for a moment it seemed way better for Miguel and Dogao. And as I said, I think the biggest thing missing here is that I think that this was a late switch to CA. And that's the real tricky timing here, as we have a castle that's gonna be denied from Leary. Leary already stonewalling the trade-off, and soon Heresy is gonna have to fight this one. Still no heavy CA from Dogao here, and now Hera is coming in the light cap. I feel like the momentum is just fading away for Heresy, because now Miguel's base is suffering from a lot of damage, and while they are doing quite a decent job raiding, you can't help but wonder, Miguel is at 84 vills as well. So just as much as Hera was suffering eco-wise, Miguel is even taking more losses. And Hera's gonna send in his trademark play, the Hussar. I feel like the momentum is now completely disappearing for Heresy, although they will take a good fight here, but unless they actually start actively killing Hera or Leary, they're in trouble, because their cavalry player is at 85 vills. Tempo has a massive eco lead here, and they also have the light cap from Hera with the raiding ability. Howdah coming in here for Hera, which means that he's gonna have 8 pierce armor on those CA. Leary already fortified walls with Chinese. These paladins have to make it count. Like, those 40 paladins have to do a lot of damage to Hera or Leary, because now Hera is doing a lot of damage to Dogao, who still doesn't have heavy CA. So, this game is so hard to judge, because I feel like Miguel and Dogao were supposed to have the advantage. They had a player with Paladin way before Hera reached Imperial, but they weren't able to secure that because as I said, I feel like they were left with a bunch of crossbows that were useless as an Imperial. And this is why I was just questioning so much. The decision to kind of save up those crossbows instead of going for like an aggressive or more aggressive approach. Still, as I said, mobility advantage is on the side of Heresy, and that's not something to overlook. Because as much as Hera is raiding the opponent's army or opponent's eco here, it is also totally true that you have a crazy mobility advantage for the Cav Archers and more importantly the Paladins, and you will just be forced to chase Paladins all day. And what do you have to clean up Paladins with? That's the bigger problem. Like, Miguel can send Paladins to clean up Light Cav, but Hera cannot send Light Cav to clean up Paladins. And while Tempo is already establishing trade over here, their land eco could get pushed really hard. Those Cav Archers, it is just so disturbing to see that we don't have heavy CA on them, and the Paladins will hit the back of Hera and Lyri's eco here. Lyri with the stone walls coming in just in time, and this army could very well be trapped in here, so we will see if this decision backfires, because it is very possible that this army of Paladins will be trapped in here, surrounded by elephants and Arbs, and that would be a disaster, because mobility this, mobility that, if you are trapped, you are just gonna die. Once again, great raids from Hera, and great wall from Lyri. I mean, in literal terms, he's going for a great wall upgrade, which is going to make those fortified walls even stronger, and this is what I think it's a disaster for Heresy. They are trapped in here, and I think Hera will send Wills to block this, or at least he should. Because now Heresy is trying to escape. It looks like Dogao is gonna lose all his Cav Archers, now he's stacking into hubs. So Dogao is 4 hubs, as we got murder holes in as well for Lyri. Going for Chuko Noose to try and stop those Paladins from taking out his castle. There is no siege support here for Heresy. Still, massive eco lead for Tempo. I just feel like Tempo is doing a better job rebuilding after raids than Heresy is. Like, Miguel is still at 98 wills, and even though he's actively killing Hera, Hera is doing a better job rebuilding. Look at this. Hera is at 62 villager kills, 120 losses. Yet he still has a way better will count than Miguel, for example. And that is not something that should happen for Heresy. Traps now coming in here for Dogao, trying to take that castle down. It's going to be sniped by Hera nicely by the Light Cav. Now it's going to be the famous and well-renowned Indian Habadir, which I think lack the final armor upgrade. They also don't have Blast Furnace, which could be an upgrade that Dogao can grab. This could end up being a long game here, because it looks like both teams are actually starting their trade and stonewalling off their base. Obviously, I think if Hera is given time to just mass elephants, that could be a disaster for Heresy, because mobility advantage doesn't matter if your opponent is fully siege walled. So this game is very much open for both teams, but I feel like there is a bit more momentum for Hera and Lyri, and we have block printing Theocracy coming in here for Hera. He will bring in a couple of monks to help out the elephants here. I would say Eco's still better for Tempo, and we should... Oh my god, the game deciding move. I have to rewind this. I have to rewind this, because this is a masterpiece that Hera and Lyri will actually mention if they win this set. Look at this. The trade card keeps the gate open. Hera even deletes it to prevent that, but here comes Lyri with the quick walls, and the teamwork between Hera and Lyri. Hera traps those Paladins in there with a stone wall, and that, I am 90% sure that that could be the end of the game, because those Paladins will have absolutely no chance of escaping, and the elephants will just slaughter them. One bad move could lose the game, and I mean, I think Hera and Lyri were leading anyways, but if all those Paladins go down, then suddenly this becomes a very, very heavily Lyri and Hera favoring game. Still, the Paladins might actually find their way out, so at least some of them survives, but I mean, look at this. There is like 12 Paladins trapped in there. That is definitely not ideal, especially when Miguel only has 47 military overall. Looking at trade card numbers as well, that's also important. Miguel has 8 trade cards, which means that replenishing those Paladins will be hard. Hera has 36 trade cards. Hera is doing an excellent job, rebuilding his eco and also adding trade. That's the difference, I think. Hera recovered from all the raids that he has suffered. Hera in this game lost 130 vills, yet you still see him at 140 eco. And now he's going for redemption. I wonder what he needs redemption for. Is he afraid of bombard cannons or what? Or onagers? I think he's afraid of scorpions. Because one way to stop elephants would be scorpions, because he went for block printing redemption, Manipur cavalry coming in here, which is going to make the light cav be a lot better against buildings. And I'm not sure if Manipur cavalry actually influences elephants. But the tech tree says it is cavalry getting extra attack against buildings. So I think Manipur cavalry also influences elephants, and Chad is also saying that, so that means that that blob of elephants will be nearly impossible to stop. There is going to be monks healing them, there is going to be the building attack bonus, and I mean, Lyra is losing some vills on the left side, but they consistently have a way better eco, and more importantly, it is 18 trade cards for Lyra, 28 for Hera, 16 and 11 only for Miguel and Dogao. So Miguel and Dogao struggle quite badly at getting their trade up and running, and since Lyra had a fairly big overboom, it doesn't really matter for him that he loses like 20 vills or so in this scenario. It looks like this trade card is lost. I'm not sure what he has on his mind, but that's definitely not the way to go. Fortified wall coming in here for Heresy now. Traps are coming in, and one thing to point out is that while Hera's push here on the right side could be very, very scary, Lyra doesn't really have a good answer to like mass paladins. He's trying to go Chukonu, but his castle is slowly going down. Some orbs from Lyra is actually very, very nice teamwork from Tempo, because just 10 orbs here will be able to pick off the hubs easily, and that lowers the resistance that Hera will actually encounter with his elephants. Still, the paladins are doing an excellent job raiding, but the eco is still better for Tempo, and I think that is the real scary thing for Heresy, that their eco is still weaker despite the fact they're killing so much eco from the opponent. And here it comes, the big blob of elephants. Dogao will try everything he can, like monks being mixed in, trying to go for hubs, but he's at 38 hubs versus 37 elephants. Oh boy. Oh boy. I mean, the paladins are doing an excellent job here for Miguel, but I feel like they just let Hera get to elephants, and I don't know how you stop, like, what, 40 elephants that have full upgrades. Although there is quite a lot of halberdiers over here, hoardings coming in for Heresy, so that they can hold this castle a little longer, and a lot of those elephants are fairly weak. And I think these paladins could loop around and snipe the trap, or snipe the orbs, which would be even more important. Killing the orbs would mean that the halberdiers have an easier time engaging the elephants, and the gold efficiency of the right side is probably better for Team Heresy. I didn't say that Burmese get Heresy, I said, or if I said Heresy, it was because I was referring to the team. It's a little bit confusing indeed, because there's a technology called Heresy, but what is more important, as I said, is that they need to take these traps down, and they have the mobility with the paladins. They could just send in a couple of paladins to save this castle. This is a very, very important castle to save. It looks like the orbs will be taken down, and Heresy is actually holding the left or the right side for now, even though the castle does go down. Left side is now coming in with the elephants, though, for Hera, and that is the real danger here, because now you have elite battle elephants and fully upgraded elite Chukonu with rocketry, and it is 102 army against 80, way better population for Tempo, way better will count, way better army count, and I feel like it will just slowly snowball out of control for Heresy. The trade is way better for Hera and Lyra. They combined for like 70 trade as opposed to just 40 from Heresy. And as I said, I feel like the biggest thing in this game was the fact that Dogao had like 40 crossbows in Imperial that he couldn't upgrade to Arbs. So the Paladin are still holding, but I don't think that they will be able to stop the blob of death on both sides. And now Hera once again sends in some light cav. If Heresy had a slightly stronger trade, this would be doable for them, but I feel like without trade they will just run out of paladins at some point, especially now that Lyra is mixing in some halberdiers in this one. and it is 85 army against 51. Heresy is playing very well here, but I feel like the transition to the post-Imperial game was better from Tempo Storm. Their transition to trade, their decision to go for all these fortified walls from Leary to protect the trade was just way better. And now Hera's at a lot of elephants, and he's got the gold income now to replenish those elephants almost endlessly. And while Dogao is trying to do the best he can to stop these, they still have holes that allows the light cav to run past, which is something that shouldn't really be the thing at this stage of the game, because you gotta prevent Hera from running into your eco with light cavs. We have Shugonu siege rams coming in now with halberdiers, and it's only a handful of paladins, 15 paladins only for Miguel. 108 army against 67, and look at Hera. He's gonna go for, I think, just Burmese champions, because he's up against a lot of halberdiers, and Burmese have extremely good champions. So Burmese champs here make quite a lot of sense. He could also send in the monks to just get the conversions on the barracks. That would also be possible for him, but now both sides are falling, and Tempo Storm is getting closer to winning game number 1 over here. Mostly just by outlasting the opponent, to be honest. Because I think the most important thing, as we'll look at that at the end of the game, is that their trade income will be way better, and that allows Hera to just have an endless flood of elephants here. Champions indeed coming in for Hera. Other side, we'll still have Paladin for Miguel, but it's only 13 Paladin. I mean, most of the army for Heresy is now just halberdiers. There will be some more CA mixed in here by Dogao, and I'm starting to wonder if it's intentional to see just standard Cav Archer and not heavy Cav Archer, because it really seems like Dogao didn't want to upgrade his Cav Archers to heavy CA at any times in this game. More Paladins are on the way, but I feel like the problem for Heresy is that this game is just going nowhere for them. They have a weaker eco, weaker army, so it's not like they will eventually have better resources and then start counterattacking. And while Miguel is up to 45 trade cards, which is very, very nice, Dogao is still at 25, so he doesn't really have the gold to make gold units, and halberdiers alone won't win you the game. So okay, CA will actually have an easy time cleaning this one up. We have Sultans coming in for Dogao, but once again, I just don't feel like they will have the chance to counterattack this one. They're slowly falling behind, inch by inch, tile by tile, they're losing ground. Like, the stables of Miguel are going down. You can see that Hera is just flooding elephants here, and he's already preparing to flood champions on the right side. He's teching into champ right now, and another castle falls from Dogao. And, well, I feel like it is just a matter of time now. Look at that Leary bombard tower as well. They will be they will just not let this step out of their grasp at this point. Look at this. Hera even using monks to convert some of the CA, and Tempo looking extremely strong over here. But we have to add that Heresy, I think, played a really good game. It's just a matter of I feel like, and this is something I will refer to quite a lot, the problem here is that in early Imperial, Dogao had a bunch of crossbows that he couldn't use. So that was the difference, basically. That they beat Hera and Leary to Imperial, but they had an army they couldn't really use, and by the time the Cav Archer numbers got up for Dogao, they weren't able to steer the wheel back towards victory. And now it looks like we'll have Dogao trying to get into some more CA, but those elephants have 8 pierce armor, which means that these CA barely scratch them. Overall, now it's light cav coming in for Dogao as well to try and help out, but if you look at the left side, now the elephants are pushing deeper and deeper. Bombard towers coming in here for Leary. So GG is called from Dogao and Miguel. Very nicely done from both sides. I'm actually pleasantly surprised on how well Heresy played, and I feel like the first half of the game was dead even, and I would borderline say that Heresy was winning. The big issue for them was transition to Imp, and this is what I was referring to at the beginning of the game, that the tricky thing with Indians or any Civ that doesn't have orbs when you play Archer Civ with them is that if you transition to CA too early, you fall behind in numbers in Castle Age and you get overrun by crossbows. If you transition too late, you will have a bunch of crossbows you can't use, and that's exactly what happened. Dogao was at 40 crossbows that were unable to be upgraded to be orbs. Leary only had like 25, but Leary had the orbs, and 25 orbs is better than 40 crossbows overall. So the other thing is Hera's ability to reboot after getting raided. Hera in this game lost 162 wills, and even though by the end he killed 147, this KD at some point was like 40 to 120. So he lost way more villagers than what he killed, but he still had a better eco than both Miguel and Dogao. So Hera's ability to reboom was exceptional. In this case, so was the transition of tempo to trade, then because that is the big deal here. Hera and Leary both had a way better trade than Heresy did, and it really showed here. As well, you can tell that one of the reasons why Hera was able to flood those elephants consistently and rebuild his eco was because of Leary's sling though. So when they reached Imperial, Leary knew exactly that, hey, my teammate needs some resources, so we better send some res to Hera so he can continue to make army and rebuild his eco. So team coordination was also very, very good over there for Tempo. Still, Heresy played a very, very good game, and just small details went wrong for them, and if they continue to perform on the same level, then they definitely have a shot at this set, because I think most of the people would have predicted Arabia to fall in the hands of Hera and Leary because they're so strong on it. The real question is, what can Heresy do on the more specialized maps like Team Islands, Cape of Storms, Coast Mountain, or Kawasan? Because that is where it really matters, and we're going to Team Islands over here with what is going to be an extremely interesting matchup of civilizations. So, back to water we shall go. We will jump into Team Islands. We will have Heresy, Miguel, and Dogao on the right side as red and yellow, with yellow Italians for Dogao, one of the best water players out there. And down south of him, it's going to be a Bulgarians pick for Miguel. Other side, much more conventional civs, Sicilians for Hera in blue, and Leary as Vikings in green. Here's the fun thing. When Tempo Storm played against Suomi in the group stage, what happened was, I think Viles went for a landing with a donjon, and then started dropping TCs on the opponent's island, and ultimately went for a first crusade on the opponent's island. I wonder if Tempo is going to steal that strategy, and we'll just try to do the exact same thing. Have a landing from Hera, and then go for like a donjon, TCs, and then a first crusade, because that's definitely a stylish way of playing Team Islands. So, what do Bulgarians give you here? Let's talk about those, because Bulgarians is not a civ that you often see on Team Islands. One of the magic components of the TwoPools system is that you see civs used on maps that you normally wouldn't see them being used. So Bulgarians is actually a very underwhelming water civ. They don't have fast fires, they don't have heavy demos, they do have Galleon, and they do have Bracer, but they don't have Shipwright or Dry Dock. So technically they have operational galleons, but they are missing quite a lot of upgrades, so their versatility is very limited. Obviously, when you look at Bulgarians, you probably think about landing or landing defense, but the bigger question is, what do you do if that landing fails? Or so. So, technically Miguel can go for galleons, but those galleons won't be super amazing. I would still expect either landing from Miguel, or potentially landing defense, and then just let the Dogao play water. Dogao's gonna go for a front dock play here, so most likely fire galley opening will be the case. Leary will most likely do either side dock or back dock. Considering how big their island is, you won't go all the way back here for a corner and then drop docks here, because that would be too far away. You are probably going to drop docks somewhere around over here. Indeed, it's going to be a side dock galley play from Leary and Hera. let's see what he's up to with his dogs. He's about to send out a village, and that's going to be a back dock. With a back dock, it is very likely that Hera's going to go for a landing. So we might see First Crusade on Team Islands once again. And we have a front dock for Miguel, which could mean that he's just going for a fire galley play. Because in early game, Bulgarians are completely okay when it comes to water fights. So they have fire galleys, they have galleys, they even have fire ships. So before Imperial, the Bulgarians are completely alright on water. Obviously, they don't get any relevant bonuses, but it's not like they suffer from any deficit either. So we could potentially see double water play, double fire galleys from the Brazilian team, although it would be risky given the fact that Hera could potentially land them. Especially with Sicilians, that is a very, very scary scenario. I would like to point out this majestic wood line over here, because this is literally a wood line over here. Just a line of trees on this little peninsula. Overall, the islands seem to be very, very well balanced. Their shape is very similar. And if you just look at all the wood count, it kind of seems fairly even. So this is actually a very, very balanced map for the two teams, I would say. Maybe these golds being exposed for the Brazilians hurts a little bit, but these are also quite exposed for Hera and Leary. So this is a surprisingly even map overall for the two teams. Hera coming in with Loom already, and I believe he is going to click up. There's the transport ship from Miguel, so it's going to be a front dock landing, which is sort of a retro thing nowadays. You can definitely do front dock landing because that way you don't have to travel that much, but that means that your fishing eco is more exposed. I think a back dock landing is safer because this way your fishing eco is harder to kill, and that is what Hera is going to do. Leary will be playing water, and that's no surprise, I would say. Leary controlling galleys is basically the same thing as Leary controlling archers, so his range unit control is very, very nice, his galley micro is great, and that is the reason why he is playing water. So, we're gonna have the transport coming in. Hera not preparing for an opponent landing just yet. He's going to have the villagers here and the scout transporting two whales and the scout. And the same thing is gonna happen for Miguel, who will not be spotted. And it seems like Heresy will get away with this landing over here. We'll have some walls coming up for Leary, so they're expecting a potential landing, but they haven't scouted this just yet. And it seems like that will go unscouted because it is going to be Hera landing as well. This could potentially surprise Hera really badly, especially if you look at Hera's gold. Hera's only very good gold, well, very good in quotation marks, is this one. Like, this is not a good gold for him, this is not a good gold either. So it is very possible that Hera is going to lose this gold. This is a mistake from Miguel though. He shows the scout. Miguel just showed the scout, and it's men-at-arms. This is why you pick Bulgarians here. The landing on the other side will also be spotted, so Dogao sends in his scout to take this fight immediately. And he also has the hill, I believe. Hera now tries to take the hill himself, and this is why it's Bulgarians. I did tell you that Heresy will most likely come up with some innovative strategies. They know exactly that Hera is landing here, so you could make a stable back at home, but it is a men-at-arms landing with the Bulgarian player, and guess what? Defending against men-at-arms is actually pretty hard. So you have to make an archer range to clean them up, unlike landing against scouts. So I really like the men-at-arms, and oh, that's a disaster for Miguel though. That's a disaster. One of his men-at-arms were trapped in between the forest and the barracks, and now he has to delete the barracks. That's a mistake placing it over there. Because he got one of his men-at-arms trapped, but now he had to delete it. And, I mean, he did what he needed. He went for the men-at-arms, although he now runs into the TC fire of the opponent as he's distracted by the other landing. But he loses one man-at-arms, he lost the barracks. I feel like that's a bit of a disaster here for Heresy. Still, Leary could be losing one will over here, and indeed he will. And there is still a hole here. For now, Leary is going to be able to wall this one off. Men-at-arms are still closing in. And Men-at-arms actually gets through walls much easier than scouts do. So, it looks like we're going to have... Hera's going to mill the opponent's berries, guys. Hera is milling the berries of Miguel on the opponent's island. And he also has a mill back at home. I feel like the landing from Hera could potentially do more than the landing of Miguel. Although, Miguel sends his transport back home with 2 scouts to try and clean this up. What Miguel needs to do now is pull 2 wheels and roll this stable in. And that's exactly what should happen. Instead, he's going for defensive tower, which is a questionable choice. He wants to kill those landing wheels, but at this point, it's more important to just roll that stable in. But he really wants to get those wheels killed because he's rushing up a tower here, grabs forging for his scouts and men-at-arms. On the water, we haven't talked about this one, but it looks like we have a fairly passive game. Both players are just massing galleys for the time being. And it looks like Hera is going to run away with his wheels for the time being. And he will get away. So, yeah, this tower didn't do much for Miguel here. Dogao is also coming in with his own scout, but as I said, it's a big mistake from Miguel that he didn't roll this in. He could just pull 5 wheels, roll this in, and there is no more scouts for Hera. That's something that should have been done, and he's not really doing it. Now, one of the things that Miguel and Dogao could achieve with these men-at-arms here is that they deny additional docks from being added, and they also deny a repair villager from being here, which helps a little bit for Dogao on water. It looks like Dogao could be hitting the fishing eco of the opponent, and you see the red ping from Miguel telling his teammate that, hey, please hit the opponent's fishing eco because I need help. And the donjon coming in here from Hera alongside a single spearman. Miguel also has a transport here chasing with scouts. Here's the Sicilian transport that just survives every punishment possible. So the spearman is now out. Here's the donjon, but guess what? It is going to turn into a doubt donjon because that is not going up for Hera. I am first, and there is scouts here, but now Miguel pulls the wheels to take it down. Dogao needs to snipe down that wheel to prevent that donjon from being finished, but he's going to lose all his scouts. The scouts are also better, by the way, for Miguel. He's got +1/+1, whereas the opponent's scouts have nothing, and that's a scary amount of scouts now for Hera, and Miguel might not want to take that fight against 5 scouts. He doesn't have any production buildings back at home, which means that he's unable to get spearmen out here and get some Hera snipes in the chat, as Hera actually misclicked the villager to a farm and instead he was attacking a farm. Still no push on the fishing eco of either Miguel or Hera for the time being. Leary is pushing up with the galleys though, and Leary is at 17 galleys. Dogao is at 11, but Dogao is beating his opponent to Castle Age by a massive margin, so Dogao just needs some time until he gets the War Galley upgrade, and then he will suddenly become a much stronger player. A tower comes in on the wood line of Leary by Miguel to try and just delay Leary a little bit and help Dogao win water. Dogao is almost up to Castle Age. Leary also clicked up himself, but Dogao has to be careful not to lose his fishing eco. Luckily for him, Leary turns back, and it looks like we'll have some more galleys coming in. There is another dog being dropped by Leary on the front, and now Hera's fishing eco is gone. The fishing eco of Miguel is still intact, so that helps a little bit for Miguel have an advantage over well, say hi to a hole here, something that could influence this game very, very heavily, because now Dogao is getting harassed really badly, and that's the difference between Leary and Dogao. Leary's base is not getting pushed, and Leary has having a completely untouched water play, whereas Dogao is now getting pushed really heavily, and that is 6-7 scouts killing wheels from Dogao, and that could be a disaster for him. We'll have the Voz coming up here alongside the tower. Leary is going to be forced off from his wood line. That's the only advantage that Heresy could be having. Here, ballistics on the way for Dogao, but obviously microing his units here is going to be tough when you are also forced to chase down scouts. And look at this. Hera detaches one scout to force the opponent to chase them, and Hera sends the rest of the scouts back to the opponent's base, grabs bloodlines, which would make it very hard for the Veils to clean this one up. But Leary losing his fishing eco, and Leary going for the War Galley upgrade with Botkin, but he doesn't have ballistics just yet. This is the moment for Dogao to strike on water. And Still, this is an enormous mistake from Miguel not walling this in. He's just letting a stable sit on his island without reacting to it, basically. And now those scouts have +1 defense, and they do have bloodlines, and guess what? They will start killing villagers here very, very easily. Miguel is on the way to Castle Age, and if he gets up to Castle, finally he decides to wall this one in, but that's already a too late decision for him, and he's going to suffer really badly because he will lose 2 or 3 vills as a punishment to this. Still, he will have 2 stables on the opponent's island, and when it's all said and done, and these walls are ready, that means that he's gonna have... oh, I love this. I love this move from Leary. He's bringing in some war galleys to try and prevent the wars from happening. That's some very, very smart play over there from Leary. So, when all of this is said and done, as Leary runs into the galleons, or war galleys in this case, for Dogao, Hera's landing here is gonna be stopped, although he's getting another landing in. Hera is playing so well with this landing play, and Miguel also has a landing himself, but he's unable to hit Leary's eco right now, that's the problem. Miguel is just constantly forced to chase, and now it is going to be multiple stables. It starts to become impossible for Miguel to clean this one up. Because now it's knights, Hera's going to drop a workshop for siege weapons, and I feel like Hera is just outplaying Miguel when it comes to the landing. Like, flat out, from every perspective of the landing play, Hera seems to be doing a slightly better job than Miguel. Dogao is on par to Leary on water, but Hera is outplaying Miguel here pretty hard. Second TC coming in for both tempo players, so their eco is going to be much, much better. And more importantly, there is still a knight here. And this is one of the reasons why you don't like to place your barracks on the opponent's island, because look at how many production buildings Miguel has back at home. Nothing. He has 0 production buildings back at home. Which is also, like, questionable. Do you need a second stable here instead of making a stable back at home to try and defend? Now he's getting a stable out, but still, no walls whatsoever. Like, by this time, I think this should have been walled off, this should have been walled off. He needs to limit the opponent's movement here, but he's not really doing so. And the problem is that at some point Hera's gonna come out with the knights. These knights also are more resistant to spearmen because they're Sicilian knights. And they do have +1/+2. It's +1/+2 as well from our red player, Miguel. But obviously the numbers aren't really there for him. Still, knights are inside Leary's base as well, so things could get heated up as well for our green player for the first time in this game, and just as big of a mistake that Miguel did, this was a bit sloppy as well from Leary, sending those lumberjacks back, and the wood income for Leary is a disaster right now. These wheels are idle, and these are just bumping into each other, so this could allow Dogao to try and secure water control for himself, as another wheel goes down from Dogao thanks to Hera's knight, and another one, and more importantly, this is the problem. This is the problem for Miguel and Dogao. That's 6-7 knights from Hera, and ultimately, I think Dogao and Leary were pretty much even on water, but the big difference maker was that Hera's execution when it comes to landing is way better than what we saw from Miguel. Miguel went down to 19 wheels. And yeah, I mean, the game plan was decent from Miguel with the landing of the barracks and going for the men-at-arms, but I think he showed his scout too early, which allowed Hera to react. And then the disaster with the bad barracks placement, being forced to delete it, then just disaster after disaster, like not walling in this when he had the chance in feudal, and then not walling over here to prevent knights from just running into his eco, the hole on Dogao's wood lines. I feel like this is just... The game plan was fairly even for both teams, and I would dare to say that I may have liked Heresy's game plan a little bit better with the men-at-arms landing, but I have to say that the execution was way better for tempo in this set, or at least in this game. First game was very, very even in terms of execution. This game was way better from Tempo Storm, and that shows in the result. Tempo takes Team Islands, and that is where things get really scary for Heresy. Because here's the deal. Team Islands is definitely a map that you count for or count on when you play against Leary and Hera, because that's probably the weakest map of tempo from the entire map pool. And now you have to go for Cape of Storms, which I already mentioned at the beginning of this set, that Cape of Storms is a map where Miguel and Togao are very strong, but so is Leary and Hera. This might be the strongest map for both teams, and I feel like if it's the strongest map for both teams, I like Hera and Leary a little bit better, because mechanical skill-wise, they're slightly ahead of Miguel and Dogao. So we'll have Mayans, Mongols, Japanese, Goths, Turks, and Burgundians remaining for tempo. Other side, it's Persians, Malians, Berbers, Teutons, Cumans, Spanish remaining for Heresy. And we will have a Persians Teutons versus Japanese Burgundians matchup over here. I kind of love that Japanese Burgundians combo from tempo, so we'll jump into Cape of Storms, the winner of the 2019 TwoPools tournament map-making contest, Young Panda's Cape of Storms, depicting a South African shoreline. We will take a look at Leary and Hera on the left side. We will have Leary as blue Japanese, and the flank we will have Hera as Burgundians in the pocket in green. Other side, we are gonna have Teutons for Dogao in red and yellow Persians for Miguel. This is an interesting civ combo, and I feel like they're actually heavily mismatched. And just looking at these civs for Heresy, I feel like this will be a Teuton tower rush, because it kind of has to be. There is some alternatives, like a Teuton player going for water, because the thing with the tower rush here is that you have to have villagers up here mining stone, because that's the only stone that you can easily take. There is some stone lying around, but it's not easy to access. They're pretty far away from your TCs, and it's only one deposit, so it's not very easy to access stone on this map. So tower rushes aren't that super legitimate. But one thing that we have seen from players, especially Miguel and Dogao on this map, was forward docks to push the opponent's fishing eco. But Leary has Japanese fishing ships, so that's going to be harder to kill. And Hera is going to be the interesting part here, because the thing is that Hera is Burgundians, which means that when he gets to Castle Age, he's gonna be able to get Cavalier, which is a big power spike. However, he doesn't have bloodlines, which means late Feudal Age is going to be a massive concern for Hera here, because in late Feudal, he could get overrun by bloodlines scouts. Still, if this goes into a very late game scenario, I feel like Burgundians and Japanese are a much better combination than Persians and Teutons. It's worth noting that in every game that Heresy has played on this map, we had Lithuanians being picked for them. That is probably the reason why Tempo Storm banned the Lithuanian civ here, so they had to settle with a very good hybrid map civ Persians, but still they probably wanted to go for the Lithuanians. On this map you don't have berries, but you do have 3 boars, and it looks like Leary will be focusing on those boars quite early on. He might even bring in the 3rd elephant for himself. Hera has just brought in 1, but he still has quite a lot to take, so it's going to take some effort from Hera to get these elephants in, because they are actually blocked by a wood line. Other side, we will have Miguel as Persians in yellow. That boar is a little too late for him, but not really a big deal for the time being. Dogao coming in with the boar as well. So it looks like Miguel is going to be able to take a look at those docks that are coming up, but Leary already has walls on that veil, so that's not gonna be picked off. And it looks like we might have Miguel and Dogao teaming up their scouts, maybe looking for a villager kill here on Herasville, and Herasville could be in a bit of a danger here. It's only 25 HP on it, and no quick walls. Hera, that is a bit of a mistake there from Hera, because that villager is unlikely to survive unless Hera pulls off some crazy quick walls. But look at Miguel, he knows exactly that Hera wants to quick wall that will, and he won't allow that. That's a bit sloppy from Hera, not having that will walled in, or not having loom on it. Probably being walled in is the bigger deal. And now Hera's going to take this elephant through a scenic route through the forest, as he's able to bring in what will be huntable number 3 overall. So Vo's coming in here for Tempo, as we will have sort of a team Vo play here. Hera Vo's that scout around so that he has to loop all the way around the TC and get some damage on it. We will have Feudal Age coming in here for everybody but Hera. Hera's picking up a little later. Probably part of that comes from the fact that he lost the will. He actually sent the second one, which makes me wonder if he actually wants to add the second dock, because I don't think that you would normally send another will out here just for the sake of having shorefish when you don't want to add the second dock. It is possible that you send out an extra will, but it's not like you really have to. Second dock coming in here for Leary, so he's going to be playing water as the flank. And once again, Heresy is doing the build that he has done, or they have done, in the previous games. The flank player, Dogao, is not going for water. Instead, he's going for probably double front docks here. So that means that his eco is going to be weaker because he currently has no fishing eco, but he's going to be able to get up to Feudal Age still quite fast, and this could be a perfect timing here for Miguel. Miguel's scout is fairly weak, so I don't think that he can kill a will, but he could do some harassment with Feudal Age, and indeed he will. He will have to go hit and run because he can't actually afford to take hits on that scout. His scout is not strong enough, and neither is the scout of Dogao, but if you would have teamed up those scouts, I think you could have killed one more will. Still, at the end of the day, here come the villagers for Dogao. It is very possible that you would drop one tower because you can afford one, but not anymore. And the famous and well-renowned Teuton archers are coming in right now. Teuton archers, man, what is this? I mean, it might very much be possible that they just don't have good saves as a flank for this map, and they want to save their other saves for other maps, but Teuton archers is some next level magic. How good are Teuton archers? Obviously in Feudal they're all good, and they even have crossbowmen but no thumbring. So technically, Teuton crossbows or Teuton archer play is just as good in 2v2 as Aztec is, which is not that bad. So no thumbring, but they have the upgrades in Castle Age. Obviously it's not ideal, but Aztecs would be able to do the exact same thing here, so it's not as awkward as it actually sounds like. So yeah, Teuton crossbows might actually work out. Obviously, there is gonna be problems in Imperial Age with that, but I don't think that this is something that is on the mind of Miguel and Dogao right now. So, second layer Vos coming in here for Hera and Leary. And for now, it looks like there will be a hole here on the second layer. Those scouts are fairly weak, but this is the moment for Miguel and Dogao, because if they can get a couple of archers into the base of Leary, Leary could be in trouble, because Leary's got no defense. Hera is making scouts, but a couple of spears and archers could definitely be devastating here. Leary's starting to lose wills. Keep in mind that behind this one, Leary is securing water, and Dogao doesn't have any water control, so as scary as this looks like for Leary, Tempo still has a free villagers lead. Now come the scouts for Miguel. They will actually have some free hits on them by Hera's scouts, but Hera's wills here on the bear or on the food will be found. One will go down most likely, and I think the archers will just get cleaned up fairly easily by Hera. There is no fletching on those archers, it is just now coming in. More important, there is no spears to support them, and it's a bit sloppy, I would think, from Dogao. If he had one spearman here, this would be a completely different fight. Still, here comes Dogao with the forward dock as expected with the fire galleys. Right side, fire galleys will be coming in for Miguel. Obviously, Persian faster working docks help a lot when it comes to defending your fish. So I actually like this layout for Heresy a little bit better, because Miguel can defend his docks very, very nicely, because it takes forever for Leary to bring in fire galleys from the left side of the map. Meanwhile, Dogao's fire galleys will be able to immediately hit the fishing eco of Leary, so I'm starting to like this for Heresy, because it is easier for our yellow player Miguel to defend his fishing eco than it is for potentially Hera or Leary to defend it. Scouts from Hera though looping around, and they might find quite a lot of villagers on a gold mine, because often this opening on the north is overlooked and teams are like, okay, fighting is happening here on the south, but that's not always the case. If those scouts loop around, they can definitely do quite a lot of damage. Hera buying himself up to Castle Age, he already has Boso in as well. He's just using Burgundians so well here. By far, he's gonna be the first player to Castle Age, although he might lose quite a lot of vills here, which is obviously far from ideal. He has a pretty decent fishing eco working for him, but his wood income is gonna be delayed a little bit. But here is the answer. He picks off 2 vills, maybe even 3 from the yellow player. So overall, he's at 36 eco. It's 43 from Miguel. So Miguel's eco is still way better, but Hera's doing a better job killing vills here. Although now, Lyra's vill here will also be found, and this vill could also be picked off. This is very, very tricky, because Hera killed more vills, but it's also worth pointing out that right now Miguel in pocket has 8 fishing ships, Hera only has 7, and Hera's gonna have a harder time defending that, that's for sure. Miguel's defense here is gonna be all good. Hera's gonna have the Castle Age advantage though, which is fairly big, but look at these archers from the god, they're doing so much damage. This is... if Heresy wins this game, it's gonna be on the Teuton archers. Because, well, not really the fact that they are Teutons, it's more about how Dogao is able to use them. He just appears, picks off 3 vills, and then disappears. And now it's going to be an archer fight. There is fletching as well for Dogao, so he can take a decent engagement here. Obviously, he doesn't want to lose his numbers. So now the eco is slightly better for Heresy, and this is the big deal. They will start pushing Leary soon, and the fishing eco for Miguel is untouched. Soon, Tempo's fishing eco won't be untouched. We'll have a market coming up for Leary. Maybe he thinks about buying himself up. Second TC on the way for Hera though, and Hera's going to send his knights to the north. Even more importantly, he's gonna have Cavalier soon. His +2 defense on the way, Bloodlines on the other side. One of the advantages that Miguel is gonna have compared to Burgundians though is camos. And I think if you are Miguel right now, considering that Leary is not playing a lot of archers and he's still feudal age, you open camos. You have to open camos because you know that Hera is up to Castle Age faster, so he has better knight numbers, already 3 knights on the field. So you have to open camos if you are Miguel, and indeed, he's doing so. He's getting a TC up here. It's gonna be scary, as he probably knows that there is knights coming his way, and indeed, he knows exactly Hera's gonna try to hit the TC, and he will do a very nice job walling these vills in. Last second save on that palisade wall, but with 2 camos in here, they will be able to save this one. Spearman also bumps into a cavalier here, or well, right now it's just a knight. So, as things stand, Dogao is also going into Castle Age, and that means that we could see the famous Teuton fire ships in action. Lear is still heavy on water, but that also means that he either has to fight off Dogao here first before he can proceed on taking water, or the alternative is that he just wins water and Dogao is gonna start pushing on land. And Dogao's got quite a lot of archers back at home, so crossbowmen could definitely be something. These camos are lacking upgrades, they only have +1 defense, as opposed to +1/+2 knights. Cavalier on the way now for Hera, so I think that Miguel's gonna need some upgrades here, at least forging for him. Leary is about to click up as well as the last player in here. This demo will just completely ignore those fire galleys, he could have gotten a nice shot in there. And it looks like Leary will once again head towards the fishing eco of Miguel. I was wondering if it was a good decision from Miguel to bring up his fire galleys to help out Dogao, because this leaves his fishing eco untouched and you don't want Leary to destroy your fishing eco here. So this could be troublesome, and I think that we have a demo raft coming in here from Miguel. I think he knows exactly indeed they spot the fire galleys here. This was a bit of a mistake from Leary. I think he patrolled his fire galleys in, but the fire galleys that you patrol will just attack those buildings. If he just sends them over, like right clicks here, he could have avoided being seen, maybe. Now it's Cavalier with +1/+2, so you need some real power to those camos. Like, you need upgrades on them, because otherwise Cavalier will beat the camos. +1 defense isn't satisfactory, and I did mention that, as I said, it's a bit of a trouble for Miguel that he left his fishing eco wide open for raiding. Lear's got 4 fire galleys here. Luckily for Miguel, he's got some demos to slow down the advance of those fire galleys, and he's gonna land a nice demo shot here. Should have enough fire galleys to clean this one up, but he will lose some fishing ships. War galley is in though for Dogao as the first player, and that means that he's winning water against Leary here. Forward Siege Workshop coming in, but look at this. Look at this, man. The raiding from Hera coming in clutch. And it's 11 Cavaliers against only 6 Camels. The Camels actually taking good engagement over here now. But Hera... Look at Hera raiding once again. This is why Hera and Lear are so dangerous as a combo. Lear's archer control is amazing, but Hera's cavalry control is just as amazing as well. And Hera right now killed 12 villagers. Miguel lost 18, man. 18 villas lost, some of that is fishing ships, some of that is land villas. And if you look at Tempo's eco, now it's a 10 villagers lead for Tempo. Slow and steady. Winning water is not really something that's gonna happen anytime soon for Tempo. But they did more damage to Heresy than Heresy was able to do to them. So Miguel is down to 4 fishing ships. Hera's fishing eco was completely untouched. Lear's fishing eco was more or less untouched as well. A mangonel could pop out any moment though. Crossbows are now in for Dogao. No +2 attack just yet. We got a couple of Cavaliers running around and a bit of a miscoordination between Miguel and Dogao not to attack these Cavaliers with the camos. Still, I think the bigger concern for Heresy will be that now we have 2 TCs coming in for Leary, 2 as well for Hera. And once again, look at that. Hera just yoinks 1 more Vil on those farms. 3 TCs for Miguel still, but his eco is weaker than Hera's eco. Hera's got Boso and Horse Color. The only player without a Horse Color right now is Leary. Still, this Teuton push here with Mangonels, potentially Pikemen as well, that will have extra melee armor, could be fairly reasonable. And once again, Leary slips past the ships of Dogao here. And that is not something that should happen. Dogao's responsibility is to make sure that Leary can't hit Miguel's fishing eco. Although Miguel's fishing eco is slowly running out here, so it might not be that big of a deal, especially if you can hit the fishing eco of Hera in exchange. Big fight over here with camos, but most of those camos are getting trapped in there, and I did mention that Cavalier will eat your camos if you don't have good upgrades. Look at this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 camos killed, and I don't see any green bodies. That was a pure massacre by those Cavaliers. Mangonel's now coming out to push that TC. I really feel like now it's Knights for Miguel, but the problem is upgrades. Only +1 defense against Cavalier that by default have 2 extra attack compared to Knights. That also have +2 defense and has a +1 attack as well. Now the fire ships will find the fishing eco of Hera, but Leary should have no trouble cleaning this one up. Whereas on the other side, now Miguel has officially lost all his fishing eco that was available to him. And it also looks like Dogao is gonna have to signal retreat here because Hera is getting to dangerous Cavalier numbers. 18 and also 27 crossbows for Leary. And one thing to consider is that, as I said, if this game goes longer, the Burgundian and Japanese combo is a lot better because the Japanese will be able to upgrade to Arbs, whereas Teutons will not be able to go for Arbs. So at some point Teutons will have to do something else. Miguel is looping all the way around with the Knights, but he isn't really finding any damage to do. Those are Persian Knights, so they can actually kill archers very, very easily. But this is looking very grim now for Heresy, because even though the ecos are fairly even, the army numbers are way better for Tempo, 62 to 19. And this is the debate that I was bringing up before this game. That Heresy's best map is Cape of Storms, but so it is for Tempo. And I feel like you don't want to bring Tempo to their best map. They are just so good at this map. I understand that Heresy wanted to go for their own strongest home map, potentially. But still, this is just way better for Heresy, or way better for Tempo. And now the Burgundian Cavalier is coming in here. It is 65 army versus 16. I just have no idea how Heresy is getting out of this trouble. Here, Miguel is calling the GG here indeed. And Tempo Storm sort of destroys Heresy here in what was a little bit of a misleading scoreline, I believe, because Heresy didn't play bad. The first game was very good from them. The second game was, in terms of strategy, it was good, but execution was a little sloppy overall. And this third game, they also played okay, but Tempo just played better in every aspect of the game. It's small details going better for Tempo. Decisions coming faster, moves executed better, that actually help Tempo secure a 3-0 win here. Once again, I think Heresy played well, and it could have been a complete different set if the disaster doesn't strike them in terms of execution on Team Islands. Or I think the biggest deal is if they choose a different map than Cape of Storms. Because I feel like on Cape of Storms, Hera and Leary are very close to being unbeatable. Because if you just look at the style of this map, it just fits the style of Hera and Leary so much. Especially the open factor is what is big here. Because even though this map is partially volleyball, it's still fairly open. And it is actually an interesting debate. I was on Hera's stream once and he actually gave some feedback about the maps for TwoPools. He said he feels like there's a little bit too few open maps and he would love to see something like Land Madness or so for the maps. But if there is one map that's actually sort of filling the role of an open map, that's Cape of Storms. And very open maps are heavily favoring Tempo Storm in most tournaments, I believe, because these are the maps where really mechanical execution and quick walls, the speed of the players, the cavalry control is really shining, and that is what Tempo Storm excels in. And with that, Tempo gets into the semifinals of TwoPools 2. You will see them next Saturday. I think that is going to be the second semifinals that they will play. So the first one will be from the upper bracket, if I'm not mistaken. But Tempo Storm is going to be the first participant, and their potential opponent will be... let me check. It is going to be either Aftermath or Gamer Legion B. So Doubt Slam or MBL and Nikov. We might see an Aftermath versus Tempo showdown. The old AM guys, or well, the ones that stayed with Aftermath versus the ones that decided to leave for Tempo Storm. We could see semifinals in between those two teams.